Hi guys, and welcome to this week's deep dive. I'm doing it from the studio today. In fact, I'm going to mostly do it from the studio a lot in the future as well. But this week is a special one for me because I've got two very good friends joining me. These guys I've known for a few years. Separately, they are incredibly creative. I speak to both of them regularly. They're always sharing ideas that makes my jaw drop, basically. But they've joined forces for this release we're going to talk about today. And they have joined forces in the past, and whenever they do, separately they're great. Together, it's another level. So without further ado, let's introduce, actually, before we introduce them, if you haven't done so already, please remember to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be notified every time we put a video live on our YouTube channel. Right, without further ado, let's introduce my special guests for today, Mr. David Jonathan and Mr. Nikolas Mavresis.
Hello.
Hiya guys, how are you?
Fantastic.
Well,
yeah, great.
I've got to say a big thank you because we're all sort of in different time zones. Not so bad for you, Nikolas, but David, it's early in the morning. You've had to get up, rush your kids to school, rush back.
It's all right. I had my coffee. I'm excited to be here, ready to get into it.
So, guys, before we get into the effect, actually, you are both, creator-wise, you're both very similar in respect to you come up with methods that are very similar, and it's not very often you see this where you've got two people and you both sort of think along the same lines, and I noticed that quite early on, and then when you two sort of start working together, and I know you bounce ideas off each other a lot, even if it's for a David Jonathan product or a Nikolas Mavresis product, you'll both help each other out. You brainstorm quite a bit, and it does work beautifully because the methods you come up with are quite similar. You do think along the same lines. So how did this start? How did you two meet and start working together?
The story of our bromance, huh?
Yeah.
Do you want me to take this, Nikolas, or do you want to?
Yeah. You go ahead, and I'll fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Later.
So sure. So I saw Nikolas do an online lecture. I think this might have been around the start of the pandemic, and watching all of his stuff, I had only known Sentimental to that point. I was like, wow, this guy is not only super clever, but like these are a lot of ideas that are very similar to mine. We think along the same lines. So I actually won a Sentimental during that lecture. I actually already had one, but he didn't know that. So I was excited to get a second set. And then we started talking and messaging with the address and all that, and then just sharing ideas. And then from there, it was just like we really think along the same lines. And that's kind of how it all started, just like a mutual admiration for each other's work, and then just started to friendship blossom from there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. I think what I remember from that, first of all, let me tell you that I've known David for the past 3 years, but it feels like I've known him for all my life. Yeah. Honestly, I was thinking about it today, and I thought, whoa, it's only been 3 years. I have close friends of mine that I don't know that well as David, and I know David for 3 years, but we talk, every day, and yeah, he's a very close friend. And what I remember was not only that, his tricks, he shared his ideas with me, and I kept sharing my ideas, stuff that I hadn't released by that time. And I showed him, and he said, oh, let me show you this, which is really close. And I thought, whoa, we really think along the same lines. And then, of course, what struck me was his kindness, generosity, and what a great guy he is. Not only magic, and that's really important for for someone to hang out and talk to. It's really important.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can. Well, for one, I know you both. I know you're both very close, and I don't think there's a more ideal partnership when it comes to creating than you guys, because like I said, you are so similar. And one of the first times I realized you were working together was with the Collector. And even though the Collector is Nikolas's effect, and I just want to go through the story of the Collector, because a lot of people, when it comes to producing magic, don't realize that sometimes these ideas take years to actually come into fruition and end up being something that we like. So I can't remember how many years ago it was, but Nikolas showed me an effect. I'm not sure if it was called the Collector back then. I don't think it was, because obviously that was all part and parcel of the presentation. But he showed me an effect which I really liked the premise of, and I purchased the rights to it. But me and Nikolas spoke, and we thought the routine's just not quite there. It's missing something. And that was quite a few years ago. And Nikolas worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. And then he started working on it with David Jonathan. David come up with an idea which I think was the full stop it needed. It was the moment he needed. And when David dropped that in, everything fell into place. But the Collector was something that was most probably about 3 years from me buying the rights to finalising it and releasing it. And the thing is, with both of your minds together, it created something that, in my mind, as a routine, is perfect. Nikolas had a phenomenal method for the trick. David Jonathan sort of dotted the I's, crossed the T's, and it just gelled. And that was the moment for me that I thought, wow, these guys know how each other ticks, because it just worked. David didn't walk in and change everything. It was just like, why don't you add this? And it was just perfect. And that was my first realization that when you two get together, what you create is something very special.
Yeah, and let me tell you, I recently did a lecture, an online lecture, and David has done a lecture for the same group, and he shared the set list.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do a joint trick that day. It was, I think, the only lecture that I didn't do. I didn't show a joint trick, and I said to the guys up front, look, today I'm not going to show you a trick that David and I have created together, because he already did that. But let me tell you up front that it's a given that he has an involvement of every trick that you're going to see, because he is either helped me with maybe parts of the method, parts of the presentation, or what have you. So it's a given that I give credit to David for what you're about to see.
Yeah. So
gladly take it.
Before we actually watch the trailer of this one and speak more about it, so have you got more joint products in production or in the works? I mean, you don't have to give away too much information, just what you feel comfortable with. But is this something that we're going to see more of? I know you both release your own stuff, which I presume you're going to continue doing, but are there more joint projects in the works?
I would say an emphatic yes. A lot to come out this year, and even some brand new ones that we're working on, as of yesterday and today. So, there's still our solo projects. As Peter, you're well aware, Nikolas has a ton in the pipeline with Alakazam coming out that are obviously I've seen and had some involvement behind the scenes that you're just talking about, but they're all fantastic. I have some solo stuff too, but we are always going to continue to work together. Because, like you kind of mentioned, it's just magic sort of happens when we put our minds together on things, and So
Yeah.
that's not stopping anytime soon.
And
I
we
can't
continue.
wait to see them.
Sorry. Yeah, and I would say that we keep helping each other in regards to our solo things. We keep sharing the ideas. It doesn't matter if it's a joint project or a solo project. We still talk about them, and we're still trying to improve aspects of the tricks.
Yeah, and that it's good to have. It's very good as a creator. It's very good to have that relationship with someone. And I always sort of share my stuff with Spellman, and I've got a few other people that I totally trust their opinions, and I would share. I mean, I'd quite happily share ideas with you two, because you're just so clever in the way you think, and it's completely different to the way I think. You guys, I don't think I'm wrong in saying you guys sort of go down a mathematical route for a lot of things. It's not procedural, but it is that sort of, you need to have that mathematical brain to sort of go, okay, well, if we do this, that's going to happen. I'm not. I'm more physical. I need to get that from over here to over here, so I'm going to do it when they're not looking. Whereas you guys, you are more mathematical, and that's where it really works. So I love this trick as well. I think everything about this, I think the premise is fantastic. Now, David actually showed me this, I don't know what, last year, the year before. You showed me a prototype of it. It was a long time ago. Yeah, and then recently you showed me the finished article, and I remember saying to you, because obviously I knew the method, you had told me the method a couple of years ago, but with this, the thought you put into it that makes the handling so free and so deceptive, especially when, I don't want to give anything away, so I'm going to be talking in riddles, but something mechanically has to happen. But you can't spot that moment. You're flicking chips off envelopes, and there's it seems like there's no care and attention to the moves you're making. Everything just seems really free. There's no gingerly moving stuff. It's all like, oh,
no, it's careless.
And that's a real fooler when you're talking about magic. When you can be so free with your props, that's the best misdirection there is.
So just to give like sort of the background of how this came to be, obviously we're talking about Premiere now. So Nikolas first shared this premise with me. He sent a photo of kind of like the overview of the trip. It's like, here are tokens, or they were coins at the time, or discs, and then here are movie posters, or there was a music version as well, and then here's the outcome. And like, I just saw that one image, and I like almost dropped my phone on the floor. I was just like, oh my God, like just seeing this whole premise here come to life was incredible. So actually, maybe you want to talk about, Nikolas, how this sort of came to be and how you sort of thought of the whole premise of this trick.
Yeah. First of all, let me go back to Peter's comment. I see lots of people commenting about how clever the method is, which I think it is. But the million dollar question is, did you expect the ending? And if the answer is no, then I think this is a winner. I think that David and I like surprise endings and twists, and I think that's why this trick is a good one, because this is something that they are not expecting, and this for me is always a success when you not fool them, when you surprise them. That's what we're going after here. Now, about how it came to be, I'll be honest, it just struck me. We both love movies. We both love twist endings. So yeah, it just hit me one day. I did this, and then David and I were talking every day, especially on the method, because we went over so many prototypes, different methods, different ways to achieve this in order for us to be 100% satisfied. And that's what we have now. I mean, as Peter said, you do nothing and the trick works by itself, seemingly. It doesn't
Yeah,
help.
I'll just add that the method, Nikolas had sort of like an idea for how this could work, and we kind of knew that that was going to be the solution all along, but actually finding a way to get it to work. I'll just show you guys because I brought it here because it's kind of cool. So this was like our first prototype with the crazy design envelope, which played a part.
You have it.
These were some of the first.
I want one of these.
Yeah. There's only one set of these, 8 Mile, 2 Towers, and 7. These are just some here. And then these were the very first poker chips. It was with colors at the time and the numbers.
Yeah, with colors, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this thing just evolved so much over time. And the method itself kept evolving too. I will say that I've never worked so hard on a method out of probably all my tricks combined. Because everything with this to get it to the point now where Peter, you mentioned it just happens, you don't have to think about it. That took so much work and fine tuning. And every time we fixed a tweak or an issue, it was 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
So that whole journey
exactly.
finally get there. And then with, working with production and the final samples, I mean, these are actually the first 3D printed tokens that I have here. We're going down a trip down memory lane right now. So some of the final designs are not on these, but this was a 3D printed just proof of concept. Because even the tokens themselves, while there have been, I'm not going to expose the method, but similar things before, there's a new thing in here, the way that it becomes examinable, I'll say. That was an idea that was really cool just to have in your head and then see it tested on a 3D printer and it works. And then the final injection molded props. That's a really cool element of it. But yeah, this method took so much work and evolved. And even when I first showed it to you, Peter, it changed since then. So every hurdle along the way was kind of a blessing in disguise. Because, while this has been in the works for 2.5 years, every time we ran into those hurdles, it improved the effect overall. So that's what makes the final product so good today, in our unbiased opinion, is that it went through that long process and journey, and now we couldn't be happier with the final results.
And you know what? The reason that it took so long is because we set some goals and we didn't change our minds. We said we want this to be examinable. So that method is a great method, for example, but it doesn't achieve that. It does achieve 4 other things, but it doesn't achieve the 5th thing. No, we want all things to be achieved and be really good and be seamless and everything. So that's why it took so long. But I can say that it's worth it when you get the actual trick and you see the contents right there. I'm sure you're going to laugh. The Joker laugh. That one.
Yeah, there's a cool moment where when you open the package and you see the chips right here. I mean, they look fantastic and they feel exactly as they should. And when you get them out of the package, you're going to look at them and say, okay, they're tokens, they're poker chips. Where's the secret? And we even say in the tutorial, like, it's hiding in front of you right now. So there is that cool moment of when you see how this works and you actually get to unearth the method yourself. It's that satisfaction.
And let me tell you, when you do perform it, I'm not going to show any movement here. When you do perform it, you're going to love it. Because you're going to fool yourself. You're going to see, oh, I'm doing the move right now, and they cannot see anything. I'm just performing the trick, but I'm doing a move right now, and then you reveal, and you're going to laugh with them because you're laughing for a different reason, of course, because you are thinking, oh, that's clever. And they think, whoa, but yeah, you're going to love performing it as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. A few weeks ago, before it was released, David Jonathan showed me the last version, like the final version. And like I said, when I watched him perform it, even though I was aware of what the method was, I was still, I was very shocked that he was, I'll be honest with you, I thought you changed the method because you were so, and this isn't sales talk, when you see it in action, you'll realize what I mean, but because you were so blasé with everything, I thought, well, he can't be using the method he showed me because you would have to be a lot more careful than that. But you weren't. It's great. I'll tell you what, why don't we play the trailer and then we'll come back and we'll speak a bit more about it.
Sounds great.
So, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the trailer of Premiere.
Holy that is awesome as shit.
This is Premiere, a stunning multi-phase blockbuster routine. A movie is freely selected and remembered by the spectator. Remember the movie? Keep it in mind, do not forget it. Now, your spectators don't know this yet, but on the back of each token is a hint to a secret movie. For example, 3 hints to Toy Story 3, and they generally have a free choice as to where to place each token. Where does this one go?
That one.
That one right there.
Yep.
What about this one? Music, okay.
And where should I put this one? Okay, perfect. And remember, you chose everything. Now that the plot is set in motion, you hit them with a series of blockbusting revelations. So for the genre of music, I got to see 8 Mile. For the animation, oh, let's hope it doesn't fall. It was the Toy Story 3, and then not Harry Potter for fantasy, but The Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers. So hopefully on the back of that chip is the number 2. Let's see. Oh!
Here next to Toy Story 3 is a 3. Now you're probably expecting a 1, but the question is if you put it in the right place, and you did.
And that means that's freaking correct. You got every single one correct. Just when they think it's over, you remind them that at the very beginning, they freely chose any movie. And between these two, 7 was not it. 8 Mile was my favorite. Was that the one you were thinking?
That was it. Yeah.
And there you go. And finally, the best part of every movie, the twist ending. Like in any good movie, when you watch it back with a change of perspective, you see that there were clues hidden all along, and then everything comes together. And this is my surprise ending.
Holy, whoa. I'm gonna need a minute, guys.
Leave me unless the answer has been in front of you the entire time.
Are you kidding me? Holy
It's a complete Oscar-worthy mentalism act in one mind-blowing routine. This is Premiere by Nikolas Mavresis and David Jonathan.
So good. So good.
Thank you.
It's, do you know what? It's one of those tricks where there's obviously three major reveals in there. You obviously can prove that they've managed to put the chip on the right envelope to match the film. Then you read their mind and tell them what film they're thinking of. And then as a final kicker, you've got the beautiful thing where the chips themselves actually spell out the movie that they freely chose at the beginning. And I know me and Nicholas were discussing, not this trick, but we were discussing something when Nicholas was over here about sort of the Burglass effect, where when one thing happens, the rest of it just happens in sequence, but it feels like it's getting more powerful, more powerful, more powerful, but your work's already been done. It was done ages ago. And that's what I like about this. You're not having to set up 3 different reveals. They're just there automatically. As soon as you do your first reveal, the rest of them are in place. It's lovely. Great thinking.
Yeah, and I just have to give a shout out here, as he's not really mentioned on the product or on the tutorial, but there are a lot of phases to this, and you know, it's I consider it a routine, not an effect, because it's all strung together. It feels like a showpiece, but tying that all together in a cohesive way with the presentation. I mean, we knew it was going to be like a mystery movie week, and these are the souvenirs that you got and all that, but getting from point A to point B to point C and having the presentation all make sense was a challenge. So I have to give a shout out. My friend Spidey was very instrumental in helping us sort of take our presentation and change a couple things to have it all flow and structure in a way that makes sense. So I have to, you know, you mentioned my helping out with Nicholas thing with the collector. You know, I have to mention Spidey, because he was very, very helpful in just, I mean, he's an incredible mentalist in his own right, but in the way that he helps structure the presentation together, so you get to that destination in a way that doesn't feel like there are any bumps along the path, is a huge testament to him.
Yeah, and it's the importance of structure in a routine is something that I feel strongly about. I do feel that, you know, you can change one part of a routine, and just by changing that part, you could make it either really weak or really strong. It's not all effects, but there are sometimes you watch something, you go, okay, if that was put here, that will be stronger. But watching this, the actual flow and the time in which you're doing your reveals and the order of which you're doing reveals make perfect sense. They do build from one to the other. And you're absolutely right. I would consider this, you know, I separate various effects, and this type of effect I would call a performance piece. It's perfect for if you're at a table, and you want to do something that's a little bit longer and a bit more involved, and it's, even though it will work perfectly well as just a carry around close-up piece, because you know everything's self-contained in those envelopes, but it feels like a lovely parlor piece as well.
Yeah,
I agree.
And you know,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say, even, you know, you could even do it on stage with just an overhead camera, and you know, you have a nice piece. But yeah, I think it ticks all the boxes: stage, parlor, and close-up. Close-up, of course, I wouldn't do it, you know, strolling, because it's special to do it for each table. I would do it just, you know, when I have their attention, you know, just gather up, you know, and let me show you this special piece, you know. So yeah, I think it ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, and just a question we always get asked on things like this is, reset wise, talking what, 20 seconds?
Yeah, 20, 25 seconds. It's kind of, as you mentioned, it was never really designed to be like, this is going to be your walk around, you know, table hopping thing. You need a table, you need space. It's a performance piece. It's a 5-minute act. So, you know, when I was creating this, I was really thinking like, you know, a Magic Castle parlor type setting is like ideal for this type of performance. That doesn't mean you can't do a close up. It works 100% fine, but this isn't the type of thing that you're going to be, you know, walking around doing table hopping. It is also always going to be 8 Mile, and that's by design, because, you know, there's always a, when you're creating an effect, just that process, it's like, okay, are we going to have a force, or are we going to have, you know, multiple outs here? And you sort of have to look at it through the angle of like, well, what makes sense for this effect? Like this is such a strong ending. All credit to this guy right here. So to do that, it has to be a multiple out doesn't make sense for this.
No.
And also given the environments you're doing it in. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to. It doesn't make sense because if you take the collector, for example, and the letters spell out Jason. Okay. Imagine if they were to spell all the names. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not a trick. Right. The first question people ask is, well, are these letters spell out the same name, the other names? No, yeah. And I say no. Take a look, and they say no. Yeah, they agree. I mean, that's not a trick. And when I see comments like that, I think...
Yeah, it seems to be like a thing that you get asked all the time is, can I repeat it? And it's one of those questions. How many of us would repeat a trick to the same audience? No matter how good the trick is, you just don't do it. You know, a trick like this is... Like you said, it's a performance piece. It's great to do if you're doing like a little parlor performance, or like you said, something like the Magic Castle, or if you've got friends round. The other thing I like about this as well, I love movies the same as you guys. I find it very, very easy to justify anything with, well, I find it easy to justify anything, but stuff with movies is great to have around the house anyway, because you can go, oh, I'm collecting these movie cards. And so it's a great one for when you have people coming around the house and you want to show them something. So it's a beautiful piece of sort of mentalism, mental magic. I love it. I think it's great. And I think you've structured it really well. I think the props are top class. The envelopes are lovely. You know, the little embossing on them is gorgeous. The cards are printed nice. The chips feel good.
And shout out to Phil Smith too. I mean, he designed all these. I mean, if you look, the 2 is prominent. I mean, you saw the effect. The 3 is prominent. So he really designed this with the exact intent that we wanted for this. And we just couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's attention to detail here.
It's a great effect. You guys are onto a winner, and I know for a fact that for us it has sold incredibly well, and I know part of that is because you two have got so many fans around the world. You really have. Separately, you both get talked about a lot, so having a joint product is amazing, but you know, just people are falling in love with this effect, with the premise of the effect. And the thing that I like about it is another effect that's gone on pre-order. More and more effects seem to be on pre-order rather than order. But the thing I really like about this is they are going to be extra happy with what they receive. You know, it does exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah, and we cannot stress enough how much work we put into this. And David had to go through all these prototypes, and I'm not going to name exactly what I'm talking about here. And we used to talk every day for many hours about this and that, and that's too small, that's too big, that needs to go that way, and I mean, people cannot, will not, they don't understand how much work we put into this. And believe me, even the small icons on the chips that don't really matter, the popcorn, we even had a long discussion about those.
Yeah.
You know, these, and we went through so many, and getting this, I mean, when I get the trick, I don't even have it yet. It's been shipped out to me, and I know I'm going to get emotional just holding it, because I know what we've been through in order for me to hold this, in my hands.
Here, let me hand you your copy, Nikolas. Here, you want to take that?
Okay.
Honestly, guys, it is great. So I want to thank you both for joining us on the deep dive this week to talk about Premiere. I want to wish you all the luck with your future releases. I know we've got, we're re-releasing an old David Jonathan product that we had out years ago. It was out for a short amount of time because once again, we sold out very, very quickly and they were such a pain to make that we didn't get around to making anymore. But David Jonathan has rethought it. We've redesigned it. So an updated version of a David Jonathan classic is on its way through Alakazam, so keep your eyes peeled. And we had Nikolas Mavresis over here at Alakazam a few weeks ago where we filmed a bunch of new releases that we've owned the rights to for a few years that we've been working on and Nikolas has been working on, and you'll be seeing them appearing really soon. So Nikolas, I know you've got to shoot off, so I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us, guys. Any last words before we go?
I'll just say thank you to everyone who pre-ordered, or depending on when you're watching this, if you ordered it and are enjoying Premiere. We always appreciate you guys' support and wouldn't be in this position without you. So just shout out to everyone. And thank you, Peter Nardi, too, because you mentioned that classic. That was my first ever release. So
wow.
I always have a special place in my heart for the Alakazam family because you sort of helped put me on the map. So thank you to you personally, all the Alakazam family out there.
Oh, thank you, mate. And Nikolas, thank you so much for joining us as well. So
thanks so much. Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Yep.
So I will speak to you guys very, very soon. You go enjoy your days.
Thank you. You as well.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Guys, so thank you so much for joining us on this week's Deep Dive. We'll be back next Sunday with a new episode, but go and check out Premiere. It is going to be in stock next week. We had some pre-sale units. They sold out very, very quickly, but you can actually still order it on our site and they're due in stock. If you're watching this when we go live tomorrow, over here in the UK is a bank holiday. So Tuesday, they are due back in stock. So if you place your order today, you should be able to grab one next week. But thank you so much for joining us right here on the Deep Dive. And remember, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you'll be notified every time we go live right here on YouTube. And until next week, have yourself a great week.